Marketers have been using a three-step mental model of marketing for a long time. Stimulus, like developing a TV ad. Shelf, focusing on point of sale, which has historically been called the first moment of truth. And experience. People take the product home and experience it. They could have a good experience or a bad experience, and they share it. This is the second moment of truth. If marketers spend time on these three steps, they should succeed, right? We investigated this theory. We conducted a comprehensive study with research partner Shopper Sciences using 5,000 shoppers across 12 categories, from groceries to cars and financial products. The goal, show where influence takes place as shoppers move from undecided to decided. We found that the average shopper used 10.4 sources of information, up from 5.3 sources in 2010. We asked shoppers what sources they used to make decisions, when they used it, and how influential is each source. When we lined up their responses, a fourth step appeared in the marketing mental model, the zero moment of truth. This is when consumers do their research, get smart about alternatives, read reviews, look for coupons and comparison shop, all before going to the shelf. When we compare the steps, the zero moment of truth pops up as highly relevant and influential. Consumers have changed the way they have approached decision making. As a marketer, have you kept up, or are you still using the old mental model? There's a new mental model now, and marketers that can now keep all these steps spinning gain a very competitive advantage in today's marketplace.
Buying behavior has changed. In almost every category, consumers have many more choices than they've ever had before.
We used to have a website and felt like we were present. Now it's so important to create platforms where you can engage your consumers and exchange information.
In today's marketplace, you have to be out there on the internet. You have to be out there in the social media.
Our job, if we're going to get closer to our customers, is to be there when they're looking for things about our company.
The process of meeting those shopper needs begins at the zero moment of truth.
Have you been in a store and seen a buyer with a smartphone taking a picture of a product to learn more about that product, to read a rating or review while standing in the aisle? These are all zero moments of truth.
That consumers going in every day and typing into browsers, they're actually actively sharing with you.
As we've connected people at the zero moment of truth, we are seeing people sign up and want to know more and be part of movements and communities.
It applies in a consumer and in a business-to-business context.
If we hadn't embraced ZMOD, we would not exist today as a business.
Zero moment of truth defines not only what the shopper is doing, but the future of marketing.
Ask yourself, who on my team has as his or her primary job helping us win the zero moment of truth? Have you been in a store near you and seen a buyer lately with a smartphone in the aisle taking a picture of a product or a barcode or a price tag to learn more about that product, to read a rating or a review while standing in the aisle? These are all zero moments of truth. It's important to win those zero moments of truth, and to do that you need to recognize that sometimes the zero moment of truth can happen in the aisle, not just before the store shelf.
Mobile's a huge part of what we do. A lot of our traffic that used to come traditionally from computers is now coming from telephones. And so we've changed the format of some of our core websites. We're looking differently at the type of applications we build. They're all done with mobile in mind.
Our listeners love to be able to listen to Pandora everywhere. Listening on a mobile device is really kind of the natural evolution of where personalized radio listening is going.
The biggest change we've seen is really the diversity of device that consumers are using today. So whereas we used to have a website and felt like we were present, now it's so important to be able to appear on a mobile device. Just recently, my husband and I purchased a new car. And I saw the change in my own behavior when we were negotiating the price. We were looking at different models, and it occurred to me that I could just get on my cell phone and start to compare prices and models and even different makes of cars to see that what we were getting was a good deal.
U.S. moms are spending $1.7 trillion a year here in this market alone, and they're 18% more likely to have a smartphone than the overall general population. Getting moms coupons in stores, giving them apps where they can do price comparisons and other things are a huge advantage for moms. Mobile has completely reinvented the path to the register.
No matter what stimulus you see, whether you're sitting on your living room couch, you're in an airport, you can turn to your smart mobile phone device to learn more. You can put a search query into Google, you can ask your social network, you can look for a video to learn more on mobile YouTube. The emergence of smartphones as the ubiquitous device for consumers and buyers is revolutionizing the zero moment of truth.
A lot of us constantly believe that we are behind technology or we are behind our competitors. The truth of the matter is that we are only really behind the customer or the consumer.
If I'm still trying to manipulate shoppers to buy, if I'm still trying to get them to behave the way I want them to behave, in an environment where they have as much or more information than my own sales associates about the products I sell, I'm bound to fail.
Our job, if we're going to get closer to our customers, is to be there when they're looking for things about our company. And it's not all things that GE has to have total control over. In fact, we don't have total control over it. But do we understand the ecosystem where the customer's looking for information? Do we understand where they're most likely to go to find things? That's really important when you're thinking about customer intimacy, when you're thinking about that zero moment, when it really talks about what's most critical and how do you get that in front of your customer.
The future of marketing has always been about understanding and meeting customer requirements. And in order to do that, we have to recognize that people are humans. And as a result, you have to not only understand what they say and what they do, but you have to understand what they feel. And people who have insights about consumers and can actually create both the art and science of it together are going to win in the future.
If I were to bring shoppers into a room and line up a series of products in front of them and ask them to talk to me about those products, tell me which one they like the best, they're actually tapping into the most advanced part of their brain as they articulate what they like about products. What's fascinating, though, is when we tell them, great, thank you for the input on what you like and don't like about this product. Now you have to choose one, and you can only choose one to take home with you today. Which one will you choose? All of a sudden, all that advanced part of our brains goes dark. And the central part of our brain, fight or flight, yes or no, risk versus reward, that part of the brain takes over. That's where the decision's actually made. It reveals how emotional decision-making is. And the great thing about ZMod is we were able to connect on those issues early on with what are going to be the most emotional ones and track those all the way through as the shopper finally ends up at the decided stage.
As marketers, we all learned our craft focusing around 3 moments. And those 3 moments became the basis of how we built our plans as marketers, how we chose our partners, and how we allocated our budgets. Now we believe there are actually 4 moments in the mental model of marketing. And it's the marketers who recognize that the world is now a 4-moment model that stand to have a competitive advantage in the marketplace.
If you are smart, you should never even launch a mass media campaign without a zero moment of truth support to it. Because we've often discovered people, when they watch your commercial, they sometimes don't remember your product or service. They will remember certain things from your commercial. So if you have a green frog, they'll actually search for green frog. So you should actually be willing to sort of show up there at that particular time. And you should incorporate, whether it's before or after your advertising, how do you actually support it with new consumer behaviors, ways of discovering things?
We're moving away from people seeking a product or a brand they want in 5 or 10 or 20 or 50 ways to actually seeking and finding that brand in tens and thousands of ways. The web presents an incredible opportunity, but also there are an enormous number of tools that now allow you to be hyper-targeted. And if there are 60 people in San Francisco right now looking for engagement rings and on the web trying to find them or trying to figure out which brand or cut to buy, you have an ability to get in front of just those 60 people because the potential consumer is not at the end of the process, rather beginning the journey. You have more of a time and opportunity to have a slightly slower dance in order to truly convince them that you're the right answer for them. And that's the fundamental shift I think a brand needs to make, is embrace this idea of fragmentation and yet leverage the tools that are available to us to show up at the right moment in front of the right person with the right message.
The zero moment of truth is a new way of thinking about the traditional marketing model. We all learned marketing by creating pieces of stimulus like radio, TV, and print to drive awareness of our product or service, which would then drive people to the point of sale at retail or at shelf, for example, whereupon hopefully they would choose your product or service, take it home, and have a great product experience. Zero moment of truth is that moment that increasingly is growing in importance that gets in between your stimulus and your point of sale.
To some degree, consumers aren't doing anything differently than they have been doing for years. They have been gathering information about what's going to be the best product and where it is that they should be buying, and they've been trying to learn about that before they make their decision. What has changed is where they gather that information, their ability to easily collect some of that information from a multitude of sources, and their ability to compare from one alternative place to buy versus another.
Today, the number one spot where shoppers begin their journey is search. 70% of all transactions, we're seeing some sort of pre-shopping take place, even if it's for items that cost $1 or less. Zero moment of truth isn't just a catalyst that starts shopping, but it starts learning. And I think the biggest change that we see is shoppers that walk into every transaction saying, I want to be smarter, I want to be more informed, I want to make better choices, and yeah, I also want to save some money.
We find this zero moment of truth, it applies across all of our customer bases, whether you're buying a big jet engine, whether you're buying a refrigerator, or whether you're purchasing a credit card. It really does apply both in a consumer and in a business-to-business context.
So think about it. It's a natural behavior. It's a way that we all now make our buying decisions almost as second nature. Typically what we would all do is we would try to get some more information between seeing the stimulus and showing up at the shelf. And it's those moments in collection that we call the zero moments that need to be part of your marketing plans.